Hey guys, and welcome to the channel. Glad you made it here. Today we're going to talk about how to get into collecting vinyl records, like a tutorial. What do you need to buy? What do you need to avoid? And what do you need to do? Alright, first of all, what kind of music do you want to listen to on a vinyl record? Listen to the music you like. It doesn't depend on anything else. The first few vinyl records, 3, 4, 5, 6, that you're going to buy are the ones that you're going to listen to the most, because obviously you just have those few records. So buy the music you really like. And if you ask me, what kind of record do I need to buy, which is the best on vinyl out there? Tricky question, but I would say Animals by Pink Floyd. So you'd say, okay, great, I'm going to buy that. But maybe you don't like Pink Floyd, so there is no need to buy that record. Maybe you buy it later just for the purpose of having it. But first of all, buy the music you like. Whether it be classic rock, pop, hip-hop, electronic music, whatever you want. Buy the music you love. You're going to listen to it the most. So, and don't let anybody tell you that the music you're listening to isn't worth the vinyl it's on. Fucking rubbish. By the way, I am not the person that's going to call you out for calling a record a vinyl. And I am not the person to call you out when you've bought a Crossley record player, one of those suitcase style ones. I don't care, but we're going to get to the topic of hardware right now. So what do I need to play this music that I've just bought that I love so much? Do I need a record player, turntable, whatever? We're going to see that, but we're going to switch perspective for that for a second. What kind of hardware do I need to play my records? You'll need a turntable, an amplifier, and some speakers. But let's start with the most important thing, the turntable. Why shouldn't I buy a Crossley or Victrola suitcase-style turntable, those all-in-one systems? It may sound tempting because they are fairly cheap with around 50 to 60 euros. First of all, many people are going to tell you that they are going to destroy your records, which is not the truth, at least not 100%. Yes, they definitely do have too much weight on the record with about 6 grams, perfect something like 2 to 3 grams, maybe even a little bit less. Biggest problem that I see with them is the very, very appalling sound quality, because the speakers are abysmally bad. Obviously they are, because for such a low price to have all-in-one, you've got to sacrifice build and sound quality. So do you need this kind of record player? This is a Technics SL3310. It's been made in the 70s and it's been very expensive. Back in the days it's been really expensive, and even I had to pay about 300 euros for a used one in this condition. No, you don't need such a turntable. When you want to buy a new turntable, which is presumably the more smart decision, the only reason I do have, and I already have owned used record players, is that I have a shop in my vicinity that I really adore. I've gotten good friends with the owner over the years, who is selling used record players, and he even repairs them, which is a great thing. If you've got somebody in your family or a friend that knows what to look out for on a record player, that's great. Then go look out for a used record player, because mostly you will get a much better deal and at the end a better product. That doesn't mean that new record players are bad, obviously not. But if you want to buy a new record player, you should be considering something around 100 euros at least, which is something like the Audio-Technica LP60, which is going to be linked in the description. But there are other record players or turntables you could go for. If you've got more money to spend, obviously it is nice, but you do not necessarily need to spend more money, especially not if you don't know if you're going to stick to the hobby. Yes, the vinyl hobby is expensive, but you don't need to make it more expensive than it needs to be. Now, where is the difference between some turntables? There are direct drive and belt drive turntables. You don't really need to think about that at the beginning, at least if you do not want to DJ. If you want to DJ, you will need a direct drive turntable. Belt drive and direct drive do have some differences, but this is not the video where we're going to sort that out. Another thing to divide record players by is automatic, semi-automatic, and manual. On a manual record player, you will have to place the stylus, which is the needle, by yourself, and you've got to remove it when it has reached the end. On a semi-automatic record player, you've got to place the stylus on the record, but it'll return automatically. And on an automatic one, like this one, you'll just put the start button and it's going to start. If you're doing that by your hand, always keep yourself reminded to keep the lever up that holds the arm, so you can't scratch the record. Alright, now you've got your turntable. How to set this up, there'll be another guide in about a few days on this channel. Is the turntable enough? Sadly not. You can't just plug your turntable into your speakers. It's like putting a microphone into some aux speakers, which won't work because the microphone signal isn't amplified enough. You will need to get an amplifier. In my case, this is an Onkyo amplifier. It's also an old one. I think it's made in the early 80s. And yeah, it's got no remote control, but that is also just a luxury function. Maybe just ask your mother or your dad if they've got an amplifier laying around. That is possible. Same for a turntable, obviously. Now you should sort out an amplifier that suits you. You don't need an amplifier with 200 watts, obviously, if you just want to listen to music in your little flat. This one runs at 80 watts, my speakers as well, and this is already a lot. You will most likely not need this if you just have a small flat or if you're living with your parents. So sort out the right one. Just watch out that it has a phono switch, which at the end means that you don't need another preamplifier, but most amplifiers, I would say nearly any amplifier, already has an inbuilt preamp. Alright, now that you found your amplifier and your turntable, you will need speakers. I'm running Audio Event 80 watt speakers, which were in a use state for around 150 euros. You don't need such big speakers like I've already said, because you most likely can't use them anyway, because the volume of those things is ridiculous. Obviously, if you can use them, you're lucky. But speaker-wise, you could go for powered speakers, which means that you wouldn't need an amplifier. But my opinion to powered speakers, well, I've got a little bit of a mixed opinion about them, because the two that I've used were not really good. But maybe that was just a single case, but I can just tell you what I have seen. So speaker-wise, you're fairly open on the market. Just watch out that all the plugs and cables are fitting in. Now you know what kind of hardware do you need. But where do I get the music from? That's fairly easy. There are like 3 approaches to that. First of all, going into a record store and buying new records. This is as easy as it gets if Corona lets you. Just go in a record store, sort out the records you like, and buy them. Second, buying them on the internet. For new ones, same procedure. No problem, and they're going to be delivered for your house. Now, buying used records, which is a great way to save money and to get music that isn't produced on vinyl anymore, which there is some. But what do you need to know when you buy used records? First of all, if you are in a record store, most of the records should usually be graded. There'll be an M or an NM or whatever, or a VG on it, which means mint, near mint, very good, or very good plus even. Those are the 4 gradings you should watch out for. Mint means new, nearly mint means nearly new, very good plus means still very good, but you can hear a little bit of a cracking noise when playing it, some kind of little small scratches, but still alright. Very good the same way, just a little bit worse. And anything beneath very good, don't buy it. It isn't the listening experience that you're going to search for. As easy as it gets, even if they are very cheap. But buying used is actually great. You can save a lot of money for that. Alright, but I don't have a record store. Yeah, many of the electronic or big electronic markets, at least in Germany, do sell records. Actually, everyone does. Because the vinyl record industry is really getting a renaissance at the moment, or at least for the last 5 or 6 years. There is another debate about colored vinyl records. You know, this, for example, is Miles Davis' Kind of Blue, considered to be one of the best, maybe the best jazz album of all time. And if you want to get into jazz, give it a spin. But we're not going to talk about the music now. It's mostly about the record, the product itself. Is there a problem with colored vinyl records? No, there's not. There is a debate of colored vinyl maybe sounding a little worse, but you know, I've never noticed some difference to regular black vinyl, and I've listened to both of them for hundreds of hours. But alright, even if there is a difference, it's going to be very small, and you're not going to hear it in the first year of collecting vinyl, because your ear grows with you. It definitely does. And now I've bought those records. I've bought myself a turntable, an amplifier, I've got speakers, I've got it running. But now, how do I play the music? And first of all, how do I handle a record without damaging it? Actually, not as easy as streaming, but still fairly easy. You're gonna pull it out of the outer sleeve, out of the cover, and then you want to pull the record out. The first thing you've got to know is never ever touch the grooves. This is a really, really bad thing, because even if you wash your hands regularly, there's still going to be a little bit of grimy, and this grime is going to be pushed into the grooves of the record. And it's not going to get out there unless you put it through a record washing machine, which is rather expensive, and not any record store does that. So, you want to get it out the right way. There are two ways of getting a record out without touching the groove. One of it is the easy way, which I wouldn't recommend all the time, but it works if you can't do the other way. Just touching the outer rim, which is like this. Just pull it out. But there are two problems. If you've got paper sleeves, which this one isn't, I've replaced that. This got like a foil thing inside of it. You're gonna produce static energy. And if there is dust in here, if you pull the record out, the dust can maybe scratch the record just a little. But if you do that more often, it's going to get noticeable. So how to avoid that? Fairly easy. I'm just going to show it to you like this. You're going to open the sleeve, put your hand under the label, hold your thumb against the record, and just gently pull the record out. And then you've got it in your hands in this beautiful blue marbled vinyl. And to pull it in, it's the exact same way. Just open up the sleeve, shove the records in like this, and let it drop. And there you go. And now your records are safe. Alright, so now I know how to handle them. But how do I listen to my music on a record player? And I'm going to tell you that. Now you know where to get all this stuff from and what do you need. So let's teach you how to play a record on a turntable. Fairly easy. First of all, we'll switch on the amplifier. There's two speeds, 33 RPM, actually 33.3, and 45 RPM. 45 RPM is for 7-inch singles and EPs, 33 RPM is for LPs. When placing the record on the platter, watch out to not touch the grooves and fairly directly hit the spindle, which is this little metal knob in the middle. But when you have a semi-automatic or a manual record player, you'll need to pick up the arm and place it. First of all, make sure that the lever keeps the arm up. Then we'll move the arm right over the record, the style of the record to be exact, which is the outside. And then we'll press the button or use the lever again to release the arm. And we'll hear music. When the arm has reached the end on a semi-automatic and automatic turntable, it will automatically return, like you'll see here. I can't show you what will happen on a manual, but it'll just stop and you've got to put the arm back up and move it over. Now you know anything from searching the music you want, buying the music you want, buying the setup you need, and playing your music. Isn't that great? But now, where do I put my records? Alright, I've just bought like a flock of them. I'm just gonna put them like this. It's fine. Don't do it. If you place your records like this for a longer period of time, obviously, if you're just driving a car, if you just put them in a car, it's fine. But if you put them like this for days, they are going to start to warp, which means shift in shape, and that's a bad thing. You don't want your record to be dusty, and you don't want it to be warped. You can remove the dust, but you can't remove the warping. So if your record gets warped, it's basically trash. I don't have a warped record here, which is sad. But store them horizontally, like this. This is an IKEA Kallax, which is perfect for that, even though this one is getting to its limits. It's fitting about 200 records at the moment, and it's getting kind of snug in there. But any kind of shelf or cupboard or whatever that can hold an entire record is fine. But just store them horizontally, and even if there are just a few, your record is going to live longer, and that's what you want. Because, you know, the great thing about a vinyl record is while you don't know how long a CD is gonna live, this, for example, is a copy of Metal from Pink Floyd, which is an original copy, and you can see that it is old. And this thing is 50 years old, maybe, about this time. Yeah, it should be about 50 years old, 49. And it's as listenable as the first day it's been pressed. So the music that you're going to buy today on new vinyl, and I'm not going to get this fucking sleeve over here because I'm an idiot. The music that you're going to buy on vinyl today, you can listen to that in 50 years, or your children can listen to that. That's a great thing. If Spotify doesn't exist anymore, you can't listen to it, obviously. Which doesn't mean that you are not allowed to listen on Spotify when you've got a vinyl record. You know, there's many music that isn't available on a vinyl record, and if I'm in a car, I'm obviously listening to Spotify or to CDs, because I can't put my record player in a car. Would be a very bad idea. So don't let anybody judge you for the way that you listen to music. At the end, it is your experience, and if you like this experience, nobody should have a problem with it. All right, now you know anything about records. Maybe not anything, but you know how to get started. For any other updates, maybe check out the channel, even though there isn't that much now because we're just starting out. More videos are going to come, and you're welcome to stay. Thank you for sticking with me. I hope I've helped you a little bit. And yeah, leave your opinion in the comments. Have a nice day. Bye.